Well, guys, President Biden will host President-elect Trump for a sit-down meeting at the White House. It's fun when Biden and Trump hang out because they get to trade classified documents like their Pokemon cards. I'll trade you Iran's nuclear secrets for Kim Jong-un's number. Yep.
Late-night TV, part of the Democrat Party's propaganda apparatus, and accidentally, I think they don't realize it, making a good point. Joe Biden was never charged with any crimes at all for all of the classified documents that he kept going back to his time in the Senate. Wait a minute. No FBI raid with weapons and rummaging through underwear drawers. Very polite, very different FBI response. Jimmy Fallon not knowing the difference. But why would he? He's a failed former comedian who's doing propaganda for the Democrat Party. Network TV. So many remarkable stories today. Wah, wah, wah. And it's kind of funny. I'm going back and forth with my friend Steve, who knows a thing or two about the military, having spent a career in the United States military. And he said, well, wait a minute. Pete Hegseth is under attack. Who the beep is this guy, is the headline at Politico, left-wing propaganda rag that it is, Washington-based. It's a house of horrors. I'm trying to keep it clean. And they're attacking Pete Hegseth. CNN, MSDNC attacking Pete Hegseth. Attack, attack, attack. It's what the filth in the corrupt news media do. They do the bidding of the Democrat Party. It's pretty much all they do. Remarkable stuff. But Pete Hegseth served in the Minnesota National Guard. And my friend Steve said, hey, wait a minute. Isn't that where Tampon Tim served in the National Guard? I said, well, yeah, that's a really good point. Tampon Tim, who was until moments ago the Democrat Party's vice presidential candidate, the running mate of the failed politician Kamala Harris. And quite remarkable. I've got to say, yeah, Minnesota National Guard, but there are big differences. And you may remember that it was Tampon Tim who lied about being deployed to Iraq and how he walked with his weapon of war through a war zone, which he never did, and he lied about that. And he claimed that he retired at the rank of Command Sergeant Major, which he did not do because he didn't qualify. He was not certified to retire at the rank of Command Sergeant Major. Didn't happen. And he lied to us, about his military record, whereas Pete Hegseth, he went to Princeton, first of all, and got his degree from Princeton, which used to be pretty impressive until not too long ago. And he was dispatched shortly thereafter to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where he served as a guard at Gitmo. He was then later dispatched to Iraq. He was dispatched to Afghanistan. These are war zones. He was awarded 2 Bronze Stars, 2 separate occasions, Bronze Star medals, his combat infantryman badge, and that means he served in combat and that he deployed to the 2 hot war zones, Iraq and Afghanistan, while in uniform, unlike Tampon Tim, because, old Timmy, he didn't go anywhere. He told us that he did. He lied about it. Democrats lie a lot. I don't know if you picked up on that, but interesting stuff. And it is kind of an interesting question. Minnesota and Army National Guard, did they ever cross paths? Now, Tampon Tim was an enlisted guy, in theory a senior enlisted guy, a sergeant major, but not a command sergeant major, and which is a very serious rank, command sergeant major. It's gigantic. It's huge. And Pete Hegseth, major now, a major, and he served as a captain in combat zones and so on. Remarkable stuff. And so we were talking about another interesting story involving President Trump's pick to be nominated to be the Secretary of the entire Department of Defense. And I got to say, I pulled back when I heard that. I said, well, that is an unusual pick. And my first response was not 100% positive. Now, Newsweek magazine attacking him. The headline is from today, from this morning, very early this morning, 5:06 a.m. at Newsweek. Pete Hegseth was removed from Biden's inauguration, labeled extremist. And they put extremist in quotation marks, all right? Now, this is pretty crazy stuff, and it's all about the left wing being anti-military, anti-Christian, anti-American, not on our side. So Newsweek magazine typing, on Tuesday, that's yesterday, Donald Trump announced Pete Hegseth, a Fox News commentator who saw active service with the Minnesota National Guard, as his pick for Secretary of Defense. Now, and I said, oh, okay, well, let me take a look at that. Hegseth was one of a number of National Guard members ordered to stand down from Joe Biden's inauguration. I actually now remember the story, now that I've refreshed my memory. According to CBS News reporter Jim Laporta, Hegseth served in both Iraq and Afghanistan during his time as a National Guard officer, and in 2012 announced he was running for a Republican primary for the U.S. Senate in Minnesota, though he dropped out before voting began. Earlier in the year, he had published his book, The War on Warriors, Behind the Betrayal of the Men Who Keep Us Free, and a book that he probably wrote himself. In a statement posted on social media, President Trump said, Pete has spent his entire life as a warrior for the troops and for the country. Pete is tough, smart, and a true believer in America first. The news media is very upset. They say, oh, no, Trump is picking loyalists to be in his cabinet. Well, he got stabbed in the back a few times last time around by people who are not loyalists. And, of course, Democrats would never consider hiring anyone who is not a loyalist because they want bootlicks and sycophants all around them who will just say, yes, sir, what can I? So remarkable stuff. And the news media very upset that he's hiring people that he thinks might be loyal to them. But when Joe Biden and Barack Obama hire people that they think will be loyal to them, the news media applauds that. And Bill Clinton, and let's go back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because everybody hires people that are loyal to them. President Trump 8 years ago didn't know all that much about Washington and didn't have plane loads of people waiting around to take government jobs and do the right thing. But so why was Pete Hegseth prevented from attending, that is, providing security for as a member of the National Guard, Biden's inauguration? During an appearance on a podcast hosted by Sean Ryan, a former Navy SEAL and CIA contractor, Hegseth claimed, he said, but Newsweek says claimed, that it was due to, he was there, he had been assigned to guard Joe Biden's 2020 presidential inauguration, but was ordered to stand down because he had been labeled an extremist because of a tattoo. He said, I was deemed an extremist because of a tattoo by my National Guard unit in Washington, D.C., and my orders were revoked to guard the Biden inauguration. I might rephrase that a little bit, but just for semantic reasons. Said my commander called me a day before the inauguration, tepidly, and he was like, Major, you can just stand down. We don't need you. You're good. I'm like, what do you mean? Everybody's there. You know, his unit and stuff. He said, no. He couldn't tell me. He said his commanding officer, he couldn't tell him. Hegseth added that when he was writing his book, he reached out to somebody in the unit who could confirm with 99.9% certainty it was because, in the meetings and the emails, nothing like that, said somebody inside the D.C. National Guard trolled your social media, saw a photograph of a tattoo that Hegseth has, used it as an excuse to call you a white nationalist and an extremist. Said you were specifically called out by name and your orders were revoked. You know, the guard was there for the inauguration, but, oh, no, he's got a tattoo. He's an extremist. He's a white nationalist. So they told him to stand down, all right? And Newsweek contacted the Minnesota National Guard and blah, 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 and nobody responded to them because why would they? And it turns out that the Associated Press reported in January of 2021, when the inauguration was of Joe Biden, 12 National Guard members had been removed from guarding Biden's inauguration after they were linked to right-wing militia groups or found to have posted extremist views online. And a post on ex-CBS News reporter Jim Laporta said one of these 12 National Guardsmen was Pete Hegseth. Now, what was the terrible tattoo? Amazing stuff. And by the way, the Pentagon called up 25,000 National Guardsmen for the inauguration. But we've got a soundbite today about how they're terrified that Trump might use troops. But they had 25,000 members of the military for the inauguration. Well, when you boil it down, you get down to the tattoo. On Ryan's podcast, he showed the tattoo that he said resulted in his being pulled from the Biden inauguration. And the tattoo is of the Jerusalem cross. That is a Christian symbol. Goes back to the Crusades and, taking Jerusalem back from the Muslim hordes that were massacring there, brutalizing and torturing people to death. And, nothing changes really in that region of the world. So the Jerusalem cross features one large cross, obviously symbolizing Jesus Christ and crucifixion. And in addition, smaller crosses in each quadrant, adding up to 4 smaller crosses in total. And each cross is a square design and resembling a plus sign. And that was it. They saw that he had a tattoo of a Jerusalem cross, which apparently his guard unit was fond of. And when that was seen, they said, oh, no, you could be an extremist, a radical, a white supremacist. So he was pulled from and I got to say, that's another credential for Pete Hegseth, because that tells him a lot. That informs us as well about the Democrats and how corrupt they are and how anti-Christian they are and how mental they are and what mental dwarves they are. Oh, no, it's white supremacist. It's an extremist thing. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Amazing stuff. So, again, served as Army National Guard unit infantry captain, deployed to Guantanamo Bay as part of a New Jersey National Guard deployment. And in 2006, he served in Iraq as a platoon commander in a civil military operations unit as an officer there. Returned to active duty service in 2012 and was sent to Afghanistan with the Minnesota National Guard, working as a counterinsurgency instructor. And now at the Pentagon, he's, there's a lot to get to there. All right, Michael, so now I'm big time on Pete Hegseth's side here. And having an outsider and a guy who served in the military could be just the thing we need right now. Instead of these, swampy inside the beltway types that always take the... All right, let's go, Michael, let's go to Margaret, calling from Germantown, Maryland. Margaret, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris, and thank you for taking my call. It's been a while since I talked to you, but I got so upset when it was announced that he was an extremist because he happened to have a cross tattoo. My family has served for generations. I had 3 uncles that served in World War II. I had a grandfather in World War I in the Asian theater in the Navy, and excuse me, I'm really emotional. And I have currently a number of cousins who are actively serving and recently retired, especially when people are going into battle where they might not be able to be identified. They tattooed Stars of David on their body and crosses on their body so that when their remains could be recovered, they could have an appropriate burial.
Yeah, and identify them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the left, it's almost, Margaret, like the left isn't on our side.
Well, to call it an extremist, I just don't understand I don't understand them. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
they need help.
Margaret, it's the left, it's the woke left, it is the bigoted anti-Christian left that will take you all the way to the Supreme Court to fight you if you want to say a quick prayer after a high school football game. They're anti-Christian. They're pro-Islamist, though. The left is here, Margaret, and they are the Democrat Party, and they are not on our side. And God bless you. My grandfather also fought in World War I, my father World War II, uncles as well, World War II, and on and on. Margaret, thank you for the call. We are fighting the fight now, though. These crazy people must be opposed. Woke ideology must be smashed. The name of saving America. And that's not just hyperbole. That's true. Could the fate of America's children be tied to the fate of our nation? Why, most certainly it can. Much like the abortionists, end the lives of the unborn, about 1 million a year. Not enough for the Democrats. The left seems determined to snuff out everything else in our culture. But Preborn, great organization called Preborn, stands as a beacon of light and hope for the most defenseless among us, preborn babies, unborn babies. Every day, Preborn's network of clinics helps to rescue, on average, more than 200 unborn babies, while surrounding the expectant mothers with love and with God, offering free ultrasounds. Now, witnessing the miracle of life for a young pregnant woman, not men, by the way, never been more crucial as we navigate through this time of moral decay and decline. Will you please help by joining Preborn and helping to protect the least among us for just $28? You can sponsor an ultrasound and give a mother the chance to choose life, not only for her baby, but for herself. An ultrasound can double a baby's chance at living a long, happy, and prosperous life. To donate securely, all you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 and the keyword is baby. Or you can go online to Al Gore's amazing network to preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. Yes, yes, sir. Yeah, these are crazy times in the United States of America. I think you've probably noticed that. I've got a lot coming up, and it is Mailbag Day today as well, and I've got Mailbag in my hand right here. I tell you, the more the media and other people on the left attack Pete Hegseth, the more inclined I am to stand up for him and to stand with him, I must say. And while sitting here talking about this, a friend of mine who is a Catholic priest and has been for a very, very long time sent me a photograph of his chalice. It is a silver chalice, a very substantial that you might use in Mass with wine for the sacraments and so on. And it has a Jerusalem cross on the base of the chalice. Because he got it in Jerusalem in 1992, and the Jerusalem cross is on the chalice, a Catholic priest, also someone who served in our military as well. And he sent photographs of the chalice, of my personal chalice from 1992 with the Jerusalem cross on it. Who knew that made me a white nationalist? But the left, the left is, of course, let's look at our military now, because they've got people dressed up as women in the military and like, oh, yeah, transgender military, Operation Petticoat, everywhere you look. It couldn't be more wonderful. And you got left-wing extremists all over our military these days. You know that we've heard about how the Kamala Harris campaign, Tim Walz's campaign, spent more than $1 billion in about 113 days or whatever it was. And that they still found themselves more than $20 million in debt, tens of millions of dollars in debt. We learned that they gave Oprah Winfrey, also known as Orca, they gave her $1 million. And then she was asked about it walking on a sidewalk near one of her many estates, which is fine. She's worth $3 billion. She can buy whatever estates she likes and fly whatever jets she likes. But then they're such hypocrites. They lie about everything. I always kind of liked Orca myself. She's kind of fun. And she's an amazing American story. But that said, they gave her $1 million. And she was asked about it, and she lied about it, because that's what they do.
How do you think the election went?
Not talking about the election. Thank you very much.
Oh, is it true that they paid you $1 million for the endorsement for Kamala?
Not true.
Not true, okay.
I was paid nothing, ever.
I was paid nothing, ever. Well, the Federal Election Commission's records show that she was given $500,000 in the morning before her appearance, and then another $500,000 in the afternoon by the Kamala Harris-Tim Walz campaign. That would be $1 million by my calculations. I'm not a math whiz, But that looks like $1 million to me. And they went to Harpo. The 2 installments of $500,000 each went to Harpo Studios. And she is the sole proprietor of Harpo Studios. And then she did kind of a fake town hall, fake interview. It was a Soviet-style propaganda bit by Orca, who is a very, very political person these days. And she pays $50,000 a month for her water bill for her estate in Montecito, California, which she never visits. It's good to be really, really, really rich. But, and honestly, that's fine. But then when asked, hey, did you get $1 million? And no, I got nothing. Oh, your production company got it. Well, yeah, but I didn't. My production company, and I'm the sole proprietor, but never mind that. Well, now there's an update on that because the Free Beacon here in Washington, wonderful outfit, has the headline, Kamala Harris campaign gave $500,000 to Al Sharpton's nonprofit weeks before a glowing interview with anti-Semitic MSNBC host. Isn't that wonderful? Just great. So if you gave all the money you have and your kids' inheritance to the Kamala Harris-Tim Walz campaign, Tim Walz not a command sergeant major, didn't deploy to Iraq, never been in a combat zone, lied about all that, didn't take his high school football team to the championship. He was the water boy, and they didn't want him in the locker room because he's a weirdo. But Kamala Harris's presidential campaign donated $500,000 to Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization just weeks before the anti-Semitic MSNBC host, who once said that diamond merchant Jews have the blood of innocent babies on their hands, conducted a friendly interview with Harris. The campaign's remittance to Sharpton's National Action Network was part of a flurry of donations of $5.4 million in all to Black and Latino advocacy groups. They're having trouble with, according to the polls, African-American men not supporting her and Latino voters, and in particular men not supporting her. So they were buying, with millions and millions of dollars, they were buying the fealty, the loyalty, right? Donald Trump shouldn't have any loyalty, according to the news media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself. But Democrats should always have loyal people, and the news media need to be the bootlicks that they're supposed to be. So to Black and Latino advocacy groups that seemed aimed at winning Harris's support from those constituencies. Harris's campaign gave 2 payments of $250,000 each to the National Action Network on September 5th and on October 1st, just like they gave one remittance of $500,000 to Oprah, and then another later the same day, $500,000 also to Oprah. And then when asked, oh, no, I didn't get a penny. I took nothing. And they just, every Democrat lies. Ask them, is that your Mercedes-Benz? No, that's not mine, and it's not a Mercedes-Benz. No, but wait, it is a Mercedes-Benz, and it is yours. But they just lie about everything. It's amazing. On October 3rd, the Reverend Al Sharpton, who's a racist and an anti-Semite, an anti-American and a fraud and a charlatan, which is why he's known as the Reverend Al Sharpton. On October 3rd, Sharpton aired an interview, a video of Harris wishing him a happy birthday. And here's Kamala Harris, after giving him $500,000 in campaign money, for which he did what exactly? And then Kamala posted a video because it was his birthday.
Happy 70th birthday, Rev. Happy birthday.
Only 70?
I celebrate the day you were born. You
really?
have been,
You're the one.
all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship. Happy, happy birthday, Rev.
Yeah. There it is. And here's $500,000. Now, Al Sharpton then conducted a glowing interview with Kamala Harris on October 20th. He was paid $500,000 to do a glowing interview that he would have done for free. in which he touted her extraordinary, historic campaign while referring to Trump as hostile and erratic. And, of course, the questions asked lined up perfectly with the message that the Harris campaign was putting out there at the time, because it's all filthy, paid-for propaganda with somebody else's money.
Do you think some of the resistance of some men, black and white, is misogynist? And are you proud?
Good question.
To see that most Americans, even being polled, have no problem supporting a woman at all? And I'm one that lived from Shirley to Kamala in terms of these campaigns.
From Shirley to Kamala, Shirley Chisholm. That's yeah. I once rode a little subway tram with Shirley Chisholm underneath the Capitol, going from a House office building to the Capitol building with Shirley Chisholm, very early African-American member of the House of Representatives, a woman, of course, because back then Shirley meant that you were a woman. Not so much anymore, thanks to the Democrats. Isn't that amazing? However, Hiram Revels was the first African-American member of Congress. He was a senator shortly after the Civil War, the American Civil War that the Democrat Party started to keep their slaves. And Hiram Revels was, of course, a Republican, because who wouldn't be? Democrats, slavery, Civil War, all of that stuff. Amazing stuff. The Reverend Al Sharpton, isn't he amazing? Yes, he is. I am telling you. Yes, sir. Now, I have Mailbag, because it's Mailbag Day, and that means it's Hump Day in the Clinton house. Hillary's got to be out of the house because Bill needs a little private time on Hump Day in the Clinton household. And of course, Mailbag Day here on the Chris Plant Show. And let me get to the mailbag questions today. Baz B-A-Z, Baz Labreeze writes in, I think Chris Plant would make an excellent White House spokesman, but would he accept the position? Well, I got to tell you, I've never sought a government job before. I think it'd be fun to be White House press secretary for a matter of days and just have fun with the job. But and I think I'd make quite an impression. I do. But do I think I'd take that? You know, if the president of the United States actually asked you to do something personally in his administration, you would naturally have to very seriously consider stepping up to serve your country. He has not asked me, and I'm not eager to take the job and then leave and go to work for ExxonMobil or something, being there like all the Democrats. They go for Disney or whatever, and they pay you $1 million a year. I'm not inclined, Baz Labreeze. I'm not inclined. I'm not eager. I wouldn't be eager to do that. But if asked by the president or a president, you would certainly have to very seriously consider it. And I've got to say, Alina Habba is being talked about as a possible White House press secretary for President Trump. And she is really something. You may have seen her on TV acting as a spokesperson for President Trump. She's brilliant. She's wonderful. She's an attorney, right? I believe she's an attorney. And she is stunning and very bright. And I think she might make, if she's interested, she's a big-time attorney. She might have to take a huge pay cut for that. I've got to say, Pete Hegseth, if he goes to the Defense Department as Secretary of Defense, would likely take a huge pay cut as well. And he does have 2 ex-wives and 1 current wife and 7 kids. He might need the paycheck from Fox News more than a government paycheck. But setting that aside, Alina Habba, and also, this Republican that CNN uses, they have one Republican they use, and he's great. Scott Jennings is his name. I know nobody watches CNN, but you might see clips on the internet, on Twitter and things. Scott Jennings is really a great voice on CNN, and I've got to say, if he wanted to be, and there are stories, the internet is saying that Scott Jennings has expressed interest in becoming the White House press secretary, and he would be a great pick. Alina Habba would be an amazing pick. They'd both be great picks. And I wouldn't eagerly pursue government work unless ... right? Ken, thank you, Baz Labreeze. Baz Labreeze, thank you for the question. I've got to say that when Trump was in 8 years ago, there was some discussion back then with people who were connected to the administration of my going to the White House to be press secretary. It didn't get much farther than than talk, but it's flattering nonetheless. Ken Blank, next mailbag question. Ken Blank says, if you could choose a job in the Trump administration, what would it be? What would it be? Well, Secretary of Defense is already taken. I did spend 10 years at the Pentagon, and I've always loved the United States military. I do know an awful lot about it, having spent 10 years there. It's like a 10-year-long master's course in the U.S. military. All the services and the joint staff and the executive portion of the Pentagon and all that, and I think how many? 4 secretaries of defense, Donald Rumsfeld being chief among them. I think being Secretary of Defense would be an interesting job for sure. And other than that, I also covered the CIA. I think being director of CIA would be a great job, and I could do something about the 51 criminals that tampered in our presidential election in 2020, because no one has been held accountable. So as CIA director, I could perhaps bring some accountability. Like, I'm pro-American and pro-intelligence, and our CIA does amazing things, and our paramilitary operations and on, amazing things. But somebody ought to hold accountable those 51 crooks. In fact, I think that President Trump commented on that when he talked about well, I'll get to that because that's CIA director and not Peter Hegseth. But for Ken Blank, I got to say, Secretary of Defense would be an amazing job, and CIA director would be. But I don't want to be a spokesman. I don't think. Sure, I'd be great at it, but that doesn't. I kid. Eurasis Dragon asks, gonna need a welfare check on Mike the Lib. Any thoughts? Hate to lose the poor guy. And Mike the Lib, we haven't heard from Mike the Lib in a while. We did hear from him a few weeks ago, and he was out at a polling place in Virginia trying to get people to vote against their own self-interest and against the interest of America. And he was a career intelligence official, Mike the Lib. And it's not like money. It's not a check for $500 showing up at his front door like the Harris campaign sent to the Reverend Al Sharpton, but a welfare check send the police by to see if he's okay, to see if he's alive and well. That's Eurasis Dragon wants a welfare check on Mike the Lib because we haven't heard from him. I think he's fine. I know people saw him at the polling place or multiple polling places in Virginia not so long ago. And we do hope he's well. We don't want anything bad to happen. We want to hear from Mike the Lib. If Mike will call in, we just want to do a welfare check. Make sure you're okay, Mike the Lib. Barry Tolbert asks, hey, Chris, my 2 favorite political commentators are you, that's nice, and Tucker Carlson. Do you know each other? Are you friends? Do you hang out? I hope the answer is yes. I don't know why. I just do. That's good. That's a great question. That's wonderful. That is great. Now, Barry, I do know Tucker Carlson. When Tucker was on Fox News many years ago, I appeared on Tucker Carlson's show, his primetime show. Not a large number of times, but a handful of times. And Tucker used to come into the radio studio here from time to time as well. And I, too, am a huge fan of Tucker Carlson. He's a truth teller, and he is fearless. You shouldn't have to be fearless to tell the truth in America, but because of the left, you have to be, and they're out to get anybody that tells the truth because they don't represent the truth. But we are friends, and I texted with him recently, probably 3 weeks ago now. I texted with him over a couple of things. He's a very busy guy, and he's very prosperous, and he's great at everything he does. And, boy, he rings their bell, doesn't he? He's great. And, listen, Barry, I think that's a great question. I, too, am a huge fan. We are friends. I'm a big admirer. He's doing great things everywhere he goes. And I haven't seen him in a long time, but he's a busy guy, and he's doing his thing from Maine and from Florida, and he doesn't hang around here much. Which, if I had the wherewithal, I might not hang around here much either. But thank you for the question, Barry, and thank you, Eurasis Dragon and Ken Blank and Baz Labreeze. Thank you for today's mailbag questions. Wonderful stuff. Yes, sir. Yeah, Tucker's one of my favorites, and I'm not one of my favorites, but that would be a strange thing. Hey, I'm my favorite. Democrats do that, I think. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Football season is heating up, you may have noticed, and Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while you're watching football. With more than 10 million members and billions of dollars having been awarded in winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all of us. The app is incredibly simple to use, easy to use. You pick 2 or more players across any sport. You pick more or you pick less on their projections, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Prize Picks even invented Flex Play. Nobody else has Flex Play, so you can still cash out if one of your picks doesn't hit. What? That is amazing. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code PLANT, P-L-A-N-T-E, and you're going to get $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's the code PLANT on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play only $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states where it is lawful to wager. Please visit prizepicks.com for details and restrictions. Yeah, mailbag day. That's good. That's fun. Because people are good. People are nice. Not leftists, but normal people. And the Democrats from Chuck Schumer on down, Senator Bob Casey in Pennsylvania, election deniers. They might as well be insurrectionists, these people. They're not seating the winner of the Senate race in the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And Schumer, he's undermining our democracy. He's anti-democracy. He's a threat to our democracy. Honestly, what's the matter with these people? But we'll shake that one out. And the House of Representatives. Republicans going to control the House of Representatives, so the hat trick is in the bag, the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. Democrats are still fighting it, hammer and claw. And more on President Trump's cabinet, his picks, his announcements. Last night, a flurry of announcements, a lot of moving parts. Got a bunch of that coming up.